Oh, my check, Osan. All right, so welcome back to yet another video of our chapter 13 and 14, in which this time we are going into the most difficult topic of per unit tax and per unit subsidy. All right, so stay with me and let us slow down for this chapter. All right, it's going to be very, very complicated. All right, 好嘛，好啦，嗱, if you remember in last video, I mentioned if there is no externality, then whatever the government do, right, per unit tax or per unit subsidy, there must be inefficiency，係咪啊？肯定㗎啦呢個。That is that for sure, right? Now this is easy to understand for per unit tax, but not so easy to understand for our per unit subsidy. All right, 好嘛? So let's go into our diagram to see what is going on here. 嗱，分分鐘咧，嗱，你留翻啲位喎。Maybe we even need to draw it separately for each part. All right. 好啦 Now remember per unit tax, the effect basically is that supply would decrease. Now, 所以記住啦 whenever we need to draw supply decrease, we need to have some space for ourselves. 記住留翻少少位俾自己咯。Now, first, this is our demand equals to MB. Now be careful how you label supply. Be super careful. All right. Now it goes like this. All right. Let's call this supply 1 equals to MC. 嗱，你見我唔寫 MC1 有原因㗎。Okay. And let's shift the supply curve. Now it shifts down. Okay. It shifts upward, meaning supply goes down. 嗱，小心啊，倒轉㗎係嘛？ Here you see, right? This is our text. S2, let's not call it MC2. Instead, let's call it MC plus T. Okay, 一陣間你就明點解㗎。Let's call it MC plus T. Okay, now remember, this is our Q2, which is an important one. I deliberately didn't mark Q1 on purpose, right? 好啦，我哋睇睇啦。At Q2, the price will be here at P2. 係咪啊？得唔得？ So let's see what's going on here. 好啦，嗱 for comparison. Now, in fact, this is not a good practice, but since I'm teaching you, so I just need to show the difference. Now, but in reality, when you do examination, don't draw Q1 first, 好嘛？因為 Q1 其實唔關事㗎 ，just for a comparison purpose，好嘛？好啦， now let's see what's going on with our consumer surplus first，好嘛？我哋睇下 consumer surplus 先，好嘛？ Now remember, consumer surplus refers to the distance between MB and price. So originally, okay, it will be this guy. Because P1 right here originally would be this guy. Now it becomes this guy instead. Now, so let's draw it in another way. 好啦，因為要方便大家睇啦，好嘛？ You will see, right? Now, because of the increase in price and the decrease in quantity, you will see this part, this green part, okay? This green part is actually a drop in consumer surplus. 呢個係 CS 跌咗嗰 part 啦。Okay, I think this one is easier. Now, the difficult one for both unit tax and unit subsidy is actually the producer surplus. 嗱，難睇㗎，好嘛？ Now, let's see the original one. 嗱，我 mark 咗先。The original producer surplus, of course, right here, right? 係咪啊？the distance between MC and price. Now, what about the new so-called the new producer surplus? So let's see what's going on here. Okay, 好啦，望住咯噃。Now the new producer surplus, remember, is the distance between price and MC. OK， 好嘛？記住啊 ，price 同 MC 之間嘅距離。Therefore, I said MC not MC plus T， 好唔好？唔該你小心啲啦。Therefore, look, price is right here. MC is right here. And we only, okay, up to Q2. 好嘛？我哋去到 Q2 啊。Therefore, the new producer surplus before tax is this trapezium. 係嘛？呢個係 before tax 嘅。But remember, right? This part, can you get this part? 好啦，等我 highlight 咗出嚟先啦。For this part, okay? For this part, can you get it? No, you actually cannot get this part because this part is actually you need to pay to the government the tax. 嗱，即係咩意思啊？ Seems like you get this trapezium, but after you pay the tax, the only thing you get is actually this little triangle. Therefore, we are comparing the big triangle and the small triangle. 得唔得？ Therefore, you see the new producer surplus actually has dropped. 其實跌咗㗎噃。So this part, okay, actually, this part, the red part is the drop in PS. Okay, the above drop in CS, drop in PS. 好啦，now let's think about it. Tax, who can get it? The government would get the tax, but let's compare the area. This is what you get. This is what you lost. 見唔見啊？ Now the loss to the society is actually bigger than the gain to the society. Therefore, this extra part, okay, this extra triangle, in fact, this would be our dead weight loss. 得唔得？因為呢嚿啊冇人賺到啊。Okay, this will be our dead weight loss. How do we write it in sentences? It would be like this. The dead weight loss. Why we have dead weight loss right now? Because due to the per unit tax. Why dead weight loss? The reason is because now the gain to the government is actually smaller than the drop in PS plus CS. Therefore, there will be a net loss, so to speak, right? And we call that net loss the dead weight loss. Okay, 得唔得？ So this is the explanation for our per unit tax. Of course, I know this is very complicated. Now, don't worry. Later on, when we goes to externality, there is actually another way to explain it, which, dare I say, will be much easier than what we have here. But it doesn't mean you do not need to understand this method, because in 2020, they actually set a question on such kind of area, chopping up the area. Okay, so 你要識㗎. So here, my advice, if you don't get it fully, rewind the video and watch it again. All right, now assuming you are okay, then let us move on to per unit subsidy. 好啦，我哋落 subsidy 啦，好冇？好啦， now subsidy. Again, if you remember, subsidy would push up our supply curve, right? 好嘛？ Now, therefore, when you draw the supply, be careful. 記住啦，好冇？ You need to be careful. Leave some space for yourself. Here, let's call this S1 equals MC. Now let's shift it to a downward shift, meaning is an increase in supply 啦，唔好搞錯啊，向下 graphically 向下係代表佢上升咗啊，得唔得啊？嗱 ，so you see, right? I leave some space here, so not to mess up myself. This becomes S2. Let's call it MC plus subsidy or minus whatever. 你自己中意啦，好嘛？我唔理啦。Okay. Now again, as a good practice, we label Q2 first. 我哋永遠啦都係 Q2 先啦。Okay. Then we have P1. We have P2. All right. Now again, let's do the same thing. Let's do the same thing. Let's compare our consumer surplus first. Consumer surplus, very easy, right? 你見到啦。Now this part, this is the original consumer surplus. Now the new consumer surplus will be right here, right? 係嘛? Easy. So you see, the increase, okay, this part, we call it the increase in CS. This will be increase in CS. Okay? 好嘛? CS 係會多咗㗎。Now, what about producer surplus? All right. Now, producer surplus is very complicated. So make sure you stick with me here. All right. Now, the original one, you will see, overlap 咗㗎，係 overlap 咗㗎。I try my best to explain, right? I try my best. The original one is right. Actually, let's draw another one. 好嘛? Now, watch me first. After watching, consolidate that into one diagram. Okay? 嗱，留心睇咗先，好嘛? Again, let's do it. Okay, let's do it again. Here. P, Q, D equals to MB. Here. S equals to MC S1. S2 equals to MC plus S, right? 係咪我哋頭先講啦 Q2 right here. This is our P1. This is our P2. 好嘛? Now, let's just focus on the producer surplus. Now, remember, producer surplus is the difference between price and MC. So the original one is this guy. The new one, remember, I say MC, not MC plus S. So the new one is actually only here. 咦？咁咪細咗咯？係嘛? But remember, okay, now actually, we are at Q2, right? So we are selling at P2. 係嘛? Remember, what is this? This is a gain, right? Now, at this point, let's imagine this point. The MC is bigger than price. Therefore, this whole part, okay, is actually a loss. 喂，其實呢度蝕咗㗎噃 okay? So maybe some of you are thinking, how come I'm so stupid? Add something, but we are minusing so much. Then what do they gain? Don't worry. 喂，佢收晒錢未啊? Not yet. Something else they are going to receive. What is that? 記唔記得啊? They are going to receive the subsidy, right? Now remember, this is a per unit subsidy, right? Therefore, the subsidy amount will be this rectangle. 好啦，佢咪收返咯。Therefore, in total, you will see that I lost this, but somehow I gained this. 我都攞返喎。Plus, I gained this whole thing. 係咪啊？其實而家啦 the new producer surplus should be this big triangle instead. 好啦 compared to the original situation, this one, the smaller one, this one, the bigger one, this is actually the increase in PS. PS 係會升咗㗎。So, let's go back to our diagram. 好啦 So, the increase in PS would actually be right here. This guy, right? This guy would be our increase in PS. So some of you are thinking, sorry, right here. So some of you are thinking, hey, 你玩嘢 PS increase, CS increase. Then what is the loss? 而家唔係賺咗咩? Don't forget, someone is paying. Who is that someone? Government. How much are they paying? They are paying this much. 見唔見啊？ The government is paying this much. So do you see what's going on? You are paying this much, but only the society receive this little. 突咗呢嚿嘢出嚟啊！見唔見啊？ This somehow no one could gain it. The government lost it and no one can receive it. What do we call this? We call this our debt weight loss. In our verbal explanation, how do we explain that? This is because the drop in government value is actually bigger than the gain in PS plus CS. 而家你蝕嘅嘢係多過你賺嘅嘢啊。OK， 好唔好啊？ So this is how we explain the debt weight loss due to per unit subsidy. OK， 得唔得？ Again, I understand these two are very complicated and there are easier ways to explain these diagrams. But remember, because in 2020, they actually do not allow you to use another method in which we are going to learn in our next video. All right, 下條我哋會教啦 MB versus MC, but sometimes they don't allow you to just look at MB and MC. Therefore, make sure you know what we are talking about for this part. If you don't understand, rewind the video, or even you still don't understand, WhatsApp me, call me, I'll teach you. Okay? 得唔得啊？小心啲啦。Now, assuming you are okay with that, now it's time to look at some examples. Not a lot of examples. All right. Now, here, imposition of a per unit sales tax, tax 發生咩事啊？ Reduce the total expenditure on cosmetic. Now, remember, what is total expenditure? Total expenditure refers to P times Q. 係咪 P 乘 Q 嘛？ Now, per unit tax, price increase, quantity decrease. Do you know the elasticity? No. Therefore, this is a question mark. 其實唔知喎。Okay, reduce the total sales revenue after tax. Of course, 喂收稅啊，梗係令你收少咗錢㗎啦。The objective is that through tax you will earn less revenue. Therefore, you would make less. 係咪啊？一定係㗎，所以係 B 啦。嗱 ，let's look at C and D. C, increase in total social surplus. No, 記住啦 ，market intervention without externality. It must be inefficient. Increase the producer surplus we just talked about, right? Tax would actually mix both producer surplus and consumer surplus decrease. So no, not true. Right? 嗱，差2%， 72% 人識㗎。Okay, now another one. 2018 question 22. 好㗎，嗱 here you will see, right? Without tax. T1, T2, 係咪？ Now they say, suppose the government increased the taxation on X to T2 from T1 to T2. So which of the following statement is correct? Okay, now let's see. The original T1, the debt weight loss is right here. Okay, what about T2? At T2, the debt weight loss is right here. So you will see the debt weight loss will decrease by B, C, G, H. Yes, A is the answer. OK， 好嘛？其實 A 就係答案啦，唔理啦。咦，死啦，印錯咗添。Now, next one. Should be a short question, right? Here, 2017. Now here, let's learn another method. 我哋偷睇下啦。Another method that we are going to talk about. Okay. Actually, no. Let's skip this one. Go to 2020. The question I talk about. OK， 又係啊，原來講 Donald Trump 啦，好冇 ？Donald Trump said right there is a tariff， 唔好意思啊，有啲印得有啲樣衰啊。Tariff right？ So this one 好啦，我哋 label 翻清楚先。This is A B C D E F G H I J K 0 right here。OK， 我哋 mark 翻好啲先，好嘛？嗱 ，this is our S0， this is our S1， 係嘛？ This is a tariff， this guy。好啦， Now, refer to the above demand supply diagram. We need to see the consumer surplus and producer surplus before and after tax. OK， 好啦 ，before tax 容易啦，係咪 ？Before tax we refer to as zero. This guy. All right. So consumer surplus ADF, of course, right? What about producer surplus? Producer surplus will be area, yeah, DF zero. 係嘛？唔係好難啫 ，DF zero。Now what about the new 新嗰個喺邊度啊 ？All right. Now the new producer surplus and consumer surplus is a little bit tricky. All right. Now for consumer surplus is easy. You will know is area A, B, C. Right? Now I know what you're thinking. Some of you will be looking at the new supply curve and the demand curve and say area BCG, right? 係咪啊? So you will say area BCG, right? Yes. This time, EAA says this is okay, but this is not the preferred answer because conceptually, this is not correct. BCG is not the correct answer conceptually. 記唔記得錯啲咩啊? We just mentioned when you look at consumer surplus and producer surplus, you look at the original one. This is our MC. This is our MC plus T. 我哋睇 MC 同埋 price 之間距離啊嘛。All right. So the area now refer back to the explanation we had a few minutes ago, right? The area in fact should be this one. It should be area HI0. 呢個先係最啱。Conceptually, HI0 is the area that you should have. All right. Now this time, remember, EAA says BCG is acceptable. But in reality, conceptually, it should be HI0. Okay? 好唔好啊? Now, let's go back one page and take a sneak peek at what we are going to learn for next video. 原來下條片咧，我哋會教㗎啦。I'm going to explain in our next video. All right. Now here it says we have a per unit subsidy, right? Then it says the subsidy will cause inefficiency, even though both student and university benefit, right? Basically, it says PS increase, CS increase. Careful. It didn't ask you to compare PS and CS. It asks you to compare marginal cost and marginal MB and MC. Okay, so this time, do not chop it up. 唔係用我哋頭先個解法啊。Okay, now here, demand equals to MB, right? Now remember, per unit subsidy, leave some space for yourself. Now this is a S1 equals to MC, right? Now this is our S2 equals to MC plus T. Okay, 好嘛? Now remember, Q2 is the quantity now. 嗱點做咧？睇住咯噃。In fact, to find that weight loss, we just need 3 points. First point, at Q2, what is the MB? MB is right here. MC is right. 嗱唔係呢條 curve 係呢條 curve 啊。MC is right here. Do you see currency at Q2? What happened? MC is bigger than MB. What does that mean? It means that there is an overproduction, which would mean it is inefficient. 同義詞嚟㗎係咪啊? All right. Now, what about that weight loss? How do we draw that weight loss? We have the MB MC now, right? We just need to find the point where MB equals MC, which would be here. MB equals to MC. Therefore, this would be our dead weight loss. Right? Do you see? It's so much easier to explain using MBMC, right? Now, therefore, unless the question specified, you need to compare CS and PS. My advice, stick to MBMC. Now, why we can use this kind of analysis, I'm going to explain that in our next video when we talk about externality, marginal profit and social cost benefit, those kind of things. All right. So until then, I will see you again in the next video. Externality. Bye bye.